chapter 10, Order and Discipline, Sustaining What You've Built. The legacy of restoration. Structure, integrity, God's design. Rebuilding is only the beginning. True restoration endures. It is ordered, disciplined, and anchored in principles that last beyond the initial effort. Nehemiah didn't stop when the walls were raised. He instituted gates, guards, and schedules. He confronted internal corruption, renewed commitment, and ensured that what had been rebuilt would not fall into decay. Legacy is the measure of restoration. It is the work that survives opposition, the systems that outlast human effort, and the strength that flows from dependence on God. In this section, we focus on sustaining what has been built, addressing internal issues that threaten growth, and discovering the spiritual architecture that secures lasting impact. Here, restoration becomes more than a project, it becomes inheritance. You'll learn how to preserve progress, transform the hearts involved, and align your work with God's ultimate blueprint, so that what you build today remains strong for generations. CHAPTER. Order and discipline, sustaining what you've built. Completing a task is only the beginning. Preservation requires order and discipline. Nehemiah recognized this truth deeply. The rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls was not simply a physical task. It was a restoration of security, identity, and hope for a people who had endured decades of exile and neglect. Once the final stone was placed, Nehemiah did not assume that the work was complete. He understood that a city without structure and oversight would quickly fall back into chaos or become vulnerable to enemy attack. To safeguard the city, Nehemiah stationed guards at each gate, ensuring vigilance around the most exposed points of entry. He organized the people into shifts so the laborers who built the walls could also rest and maintain readiness against threats. Nehemiah 4:16-18. Leadership responsibilities were delegated carefully. Each leader oversaw their section of the wall, ensuring accountability and coordination across the entire project. Nehemiah 7:13. By doing so, he created a system that balanced labor, protection, and governance. Nehemiah's meticulous approach demonstrates a critical principle. Divine favor and human effort alone are insufficient for lasting results. Even a project blessed by God requires structure to endure. His discipline in organizing gates, guards, and schedules reflects the reality that leadership is not just about vision and zeal. It is about implementing systems that protect, sustain, and multiply the work accomplished. Without this attention to order, the walls would have been vulnerable to both external threats and internal decay. This principle is echoed throughout Scripture. In 1 Corinthians 14:40, Paul instructs, "Let all things be done decently and in order," emphasizing that God values organization and intentionality in all endeavors. Nehemiah exemplified this principle vividly. After the walls of Jerusalem were rebuilt, he didn't simply celebrate and leave the city exposed. He carefully stationed guards at the gates, organized shift rotations, and assigned leaders to oversee each section of the wall. Nehemiah 7:13, 4:13-14. Every detail was considered, from personnel to logistics, ensuring that the work of rebuilding would not be undone by neglect or chaos. A similar pattern appears in Joseph's leadership in Egypt. When Pharaoh elevated him to oversee the nation, Joseph did more than interpret dreams. He implemented a systematic plan to store grain during the years of plenty, established administrative structures for resource distribution, and created contingency strategies for the years of famine. Genesis 41:46-49. His foresight and structured management preserved not only Egypt but neighboring nations, demonstrating that divine insight must be paired with human. Order and discipline, sustaining what you've built. Organization to produce sustainable results. Even Solomon, famed for his wisdom, illustrates the same truth. Beyond building the magnificent temple and his palaces, he established administrative systems, appointed officials, and delegated responsibilities throughout the kingdom. 1 Kings 6-7. These structures ensured that the vision of his reign endured and that daily operations ran smoothly. From Nehemiah to Joseph to Solomon, the biblical pattern is clear. Vision alone is not enough. Effort without order or inspiration without systems produces temporary results at best. Lasting success requires discipline, thoughtful planning, and an organizational framework that protects, sustains, and multiplies the fruit of one's labor. Structure is the backbone that allows divine blessing and human diligence to coexist, producing results that endure beyond a single generation. Systems preserve progress. In leadership and enterprise, order transforms effort into legacy. Great ideas, bold initiatives, and successful launches are insufficient if processes are absent. Vision without structure is fragile. Motivation without accountability is fleeting. Many organizations fail not because they lack creativity or direction, but because operations, accountability, and responsibilities are unclear, leaving progress vulnerable to disruption. Anne Mulcahy's tenure as CEO of Xerox offers a vivid modern illustration. When she assumed leadership in 2001, Xerox was teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. Revenue was falling sharply, debt had escalated to dangerous levels, and employee morale was critically low. Mulcahy faced a dual challenge. She needed to restore confidence both inside the company and among investors. Her approach was disciplined and methodical. She did not rely solely on inspiration or vision to pull the company forward. She focused intently on systems, process, and accountability. Mulcahy restructured workflows to eliminate inefficiencies, clarified the roles and responsibilities of leaders and departments, and implemented strict financial controls to stabilize the company's precarious position. Equally important, she emphasized communication and transparency. Teams were regularly updated on objectives, progress, and challenges, ensuring that everyone understood how their work contributed to the broader organizational turnaround. By pairing her strategic vision with operational rigor, Mulcahy was able to stabilize Xerox, restore confidence among employees and investors, and lay the foundation for sustainable growth. Her leadership demonstrated that vision alone is not enough. Lasting success requires systems that preserve progress. This principle is echoed in the biblical example of Nehemiah. After the walls of Jerusalem were rebuilt, he did not leave the city exposed to threats or disorder. He stationed guards at the gates, organized rotational shifts, and appointed leaders to oversee different sections of the wall. Nehemiah 7:1-3, 4:13-14. The combination of foresight, structure, and accountability ensured that the city remained secure and functional long after the immediate task was completed. The lesson is timeless. Structure converts vision into enduring results. Whether in ancient Jerusalem or a modern corporation, leader order and discipline sustaining what you've built must establish processes, systems, and accountability measures that safeguard people, resources, and progress. Without them, even the most inspired efforts risk regression. Just as Nehemiah's organization protected the walls and Mulcahy's systems stabilized Xerox, disciplined frameworks transformed temporary victories into lasting success. Preserving your achievements. In leadership and business, a successful project, product launch, or organizational milestone will not sustain itself without deliberate processes. Systems, roles, accountability, and disciplined habits transform effort into legacy. Here are practical steps to ensure our actions transcend us. 1. Implement systems and standard operating procedures, OPs. Systems are the scaffolding that supports lasting achievement. Without them, even the most brilliant ideas or diligent efforts can falter under pressure or become inconsistent over time. Standard operating procedures, SOPs, provide a clear roadmap, documenting workflows, assigning responsibilities, and establishing routines that ensure everyone knows exactly how to act in any given situation. Nehemiah modeled this principle during the rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls. He didn't simply tell the people to rebuild. He assigned families to specific sections, created shifts for construction and defense, and established clear accountability for each segment of the wall. Nehemiah 3:1-32, 4:13-16. By structuring labor, rotation, and protection, he created a reproducible process that allowed progress to continue even under threat. The outcome was not just a rebuilt wall, but a sustainable system that could be maintained and defended. In modern leadership, SOPs serve the same purpose. For example, in business operations, SOPs clarify who is responsible for which tasks, define step-by-step procedures for completing them, and set standards for quality and performance. This consistency preserves the integrity of work, reduces errors, and enables smooth handoffs between team members. It also allows leaders to scale operations because the system, not just individual effort, drives results. Without documented workflows, even high-performing teams risk miscommunication, duplication of effort, or missed steps. SPs turn knowledge into shared, repeatable practice. They ensure that organizational momentum does not rely on memory, improvisation, or the presence of a single leader. They embed reliability into the very fabric of the work. In short, implementing systems and SOPs transforms effort into legacy. It is the difference between short-lived success and enduring impact. 2. Assign roles clearly. Clarity in roles is a cornerstone of sustained achievement. When each team member understands their responsibilities, limits, and expectations, work flows efficiently, accountability is reinforced, and gaps are minimized. Ambiguity, on the other hand, breeds confusion, inefficiency, and conflict, leaving critical tasks undone and progress stalled. Nehemiah exemplified this principle in the rebuilding of Jerusalem's order and discipline sustaining what you've built. Walls. He didn't randomly assign tasks. He matched families, leaders, and workers to specific sections of the wall, ensuring that every segment had a responsible party. Nehemiah 3:5-32. He also delegated oversight to trusted individuals who could monitor progress, maintain order, and coordinate with others. This structure prevented overlap, minimized disputes, and ensured that no part of the wall was neglected. In leadership and business, clear role assignment works in the same way. A project succeeds not because everyone is busy, but because everyone knows exactly what they are accountable for, the limits of their authority, and how their efforts connect to the larger objective. This is particularly critical in complex organizations, where overlapping responsibilities can lead to inefficiency or miscommunication. For instance, in corporate settings, defining roles helps employees focus on their area of expertise while understanding how their contribution impacts the overall project. Leaders can then hold people accountable for results and provide targeted support where needed. Clear roles also empower individuals to make decisions confidently within their scope, reducing dependency on constant supervision. By assigning roles clearly, leaders create a system in which every individual knows their place in the mission, understands the standards for performance, and can operate with both autonomy and accountability. This clarity not only drives efficiency, but also fosters a sense of ownership, pride, and purpose among team members. 3. Promote accountability. Accountability is the glue that holds systems and roles together. Without it, even the clearest structures and most well-defined responsibilities can fail. Leaders must cultivate a culture where every individual takes ownership of their tasks, decisions, and outcomes. Accountability is not about micromanagement. It is about creating clarity, responsibility, and transparency so that progress can be measured and maintained. Nehemiah demonstrated this principle masterfully. After assigning families and leaders to rebuild specific sections of Jerusalem's walls, he regularly inspected the progress, ensured each group remained committed, and addressed any neglect or slacking immediately. Nehemiah 3:16-32. 6:15. He did not assume that delegation alone would ensure completion. He combined trust with oversight. This balance kept the project moving steadily despite opposition, fatigue, and external threats. In modern leadership and business, promoting accountability works in similar ways. Leaders can establish regular reporting structures, progress updates, and feedback loops to ensure everyone understands how their contribution affects the larger mission. Transparency in expectations and results helps prevent negligence, duplication of effort, or misalignment with organizational goals. For example, a project management system that tracks deliverables and deadlines allows teams to take ownership of their responsibilities while enabling leaders to intervene strategically when challenges arise. Accountability also builds trust and empowerment. When team members know they are both trusted and responsible, they are more likely to perform with diligence and integrity. It reinforces order and discipline sustaining what you've built. The connection between individual effort and collective success, turning accountability into a tool for sustainable progress rather than a punitive measure. By fostering accountability at all levels, leaders create a culture where objectives are met consistently, standards are upheld, and achievements are preserved over time, just as Nehemiah ensured that every section of the wall was completed and defended under watchful oversight. 4. Discipline daily practices. Even the most well-designed systems, clearly defined roles, and robust accountability measures cannot sustain progress without disciplined, consistent action. Discipline is what converts potential into performance and strategy into results. It is the daily commitment to do what is necessary, even when motivation wanes or obstacles appear. Nehemiah exemplified this principle throughout the rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls. The project was grueling, and the people faced exhaustion, ridicule, and threats from enemies like Sanballat and Tobiah. Nehemiah 4:7-18. Yet Nehemiah instilled routines, organized shifts, and ensured that work continued steadily each day. The discipline of regular effort, combined with vigilance, allowed them to complete the wall in just 52 days. Nehemiah 6:15. Success was not the product of sporadic bursts of energy, but of sustained, consistent practice. In business and leadership, disciplined daily practices have the same effect. For example, organizations that consistently follow performance reviews, weekly team check-ins, and daily operational routines are far more likely to achieve long-term objectives than those that rely on occasional effort or reactive measures. Daily discipline ensures that processes are followed, standards are maintained, and progress is measurable. Discipline also reinforces culture. When leaders model consistency, showing up prepared, following processes, and holding themselves accountable, it sets the tone for the entire organization. Teams internalize the expectation that excellence is not occasional, it is habitual. Small, consistent actions compounded over time produce enduring results. Ultimately, discipline bridges the gap between vision and legacy. Systems, roles, and accountability create the framework, but it is disciplined daily practice that builds walls that stand, organizations that endure, and achievements that are preserved for the long term. Nehemiah's example makes it clear that finishing a project is only the beginning. Without ongoing order, even the greatest accomplishments are vulnerable. The walls of Jerusalem were rebuilt, but they required guards, schedules, and oversight to remain secure. Nehemiah 7:13, 4:13-14. Structure, discipline, and accountability are the pillars that convert temporary victories into lasting legacies. This principle transcends biblical history and applies directly to leadership and enterprise today. In business, a successful product launch or a record-breaking quarter means little if systems, roles, and monitoring are absent. Without structure, gains are fleeting. In ministry, outreach initiatives or church growth can falter without consistent processes, leadership oversight, and accountability mechanisms. Even in personal life, habits, routines, and disciplined follow-through preserve achievements and prevent regression. Order and discipline sustaining what you've built. Ultimately, the walls you build, whether tangible or intangible, endure when ambition is paired with order. Vision ignites action, but it is leadership infused with discipline and structure that ensures progress is protected, maintained, and multiplied. Nehemiah teaches us that lasting success is never accidental. It is the product of intentional organization, vigilant oversight, and unwavering commitment to sustainable practices.